I still remember the exact moment my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces at that restaurant. You're family, Sarah. Family helps each other. Besides, you don't have anyone to impress anymore. My sister Emma said those words with such casual cruelty, like she was commenting on the weather. Her freshly manicured hand waved dismissively in my direction, while her other hand clutched her fiancé David's arm. The enormous diamond on her finger caught the light, practically blinding me. I was 24 years old, broke, working 2 jobs just to keep my head above water. And I'd just been handed a bill for $4,500. The engagement party she'd planned. The party I'd begged her to keep simple. The party she'd promised would be just family, nothing fancy. I looked around the private dining room of Marcello's, one of the most expensive Italian restaurants in the city. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, golden accents everywhere. 50 guests in designer clothes, laughing and drinking champagne that cost more per bottle than I made in a week. "Emma, I can't afford this," I whispered, my hands trembling as I held the leather bill folder. "You know I can't afford this." She leaned closer, her perfume overwhelming. "Then you shouldn't have offered to help with my special day." "I offered to bake a cake. I offered to help decorate." "I never said, you agreed to help and this is how you help family." The entire table went silent. All eyes turned to us. My mother looked away. My father suddenly found his wine glass fascinating. Emma's future in-laws stared at me like I was something disgusting they'd found on their shoe. David smirked. Actually smirked. "Look, Sarah," Emma said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness now that everyone was watching. "After Jake left you, we all felt sorry for you. We included you. We made you part of this celebration. The least you can do is contribute." My ex-boyfriend's name hit me like a physical blow. Jake had left me 6 months ago, draining our joint account on his way out. I'd been rebuilding ever since, working as a waitress by day and doing freelance graphic design at night. "I have $400 in my account," I said quietly. "Total." Emma's smile never wavered. "Then I guess you'll need to figure it out. The restaurant needs payment tonight." I looked at the bill again. Wagyu steaks, lobster, bottles of wine I couldn't even pronounce, desserts that cost $60 each, none of which I'd ordered. None of which I'd even eaten. I'd been too anxious to take more than a few bites of the cheapest appetizer. "There's an ATM outside," David offered helpfully. "Most cards have a pretty high limit." "I'm a waitress," I said, my voice breaking. "I don't have a high limit," Emma sighed dramatically. "This is so typical of you, Sarah. Always playing the victim. Always making everything about your problems." My hands were shaking so badly now that I nearly dropped the bill. Around us, guests were pretending not to watch, but I could feel their judgment. Poor Sarah. Pathetic Sarah. Sarah who couldn't even afford her own sister's engagement party. My mother finally spoke. "Sarah, honey, maybe you could put it on a credit card. We can discuss payment plans later." Payment plans. For my sister's party. A party where I'd spent the entire evening feeling invisible and inadequate. "I'll figure it out," I heard myself say. Emma beamed. "I knew you would. You're such a good sister." She kissed my cheek, leaving a lipstick mark that felt like a brand. Then she floated away, back to her fiancé, back to her perfect life, leaving me standing there with a bill that would destroy me. I walked to the restaurant's lobby on legs that didn't feel like my own. The hostess smiled at me sympathetically. She'd probably seen this drama unfold before. Rich families, poor relatives. The same story, different night. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers. Maybe I could call my boss. Maybe I could beg for an advance. Maybe I could... The restaurant's front door opened. And that's when everything changed. A man walked in, tall, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. Dark hair, sharp jawline, eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He moved with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to worry about a $4,000 bill. But that wasn't what made my heart stop. What made my heart stop was that I recognized him. "Sarah?" Oh God, it was Marcus. Marcus Chen stood in the doorway of Marcello's like he'd stepped out of a dream I'd forgotten I had. We'd dated briefly 2 years ago. 3 months of coffee dates and long walks and conversations that stretched until sunrise. He'd been sweet, genuine, working his way through business school while juggling 2 part-time jobs. Then he'd gotten an opportunity in Singapore, some startup thing he was passionate about. We'd agreed long distance wouldn't work. We'd said goodbye. I'd cried for a week. The man standing in front of me now looked nothing like the struggling student I'd known. "Marcus?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. His face broke into a smile that made my knees weak. "I can't believe it's you. What are the odds?" He crossed the lobby in 3 strides and pulled me into a hug that smelled like expensive cologne and something familiar underneath. Something that was just him. "What are you doing here?" I asked, pulling back but not quite letting go. "Business dinner. Client meeting in the private room upstairs. We just finished and I was heading out." He studied my face and his smile faded. "Sarah, what's wrong? You look—" "I'm fine," I lied automatically. "You're crying." I touched my cheek. He was right. I hadn't even realized. "It's nothing. Just family stuff." I tried to smile, but my face wouldn't cooperate. "How have you been? You look— wow, Singapore must have treated you well." He laughed, but his eyes were concerned. "The startup took off. Beyond anything I imagined. But never mind that, what's going on?" Before I could answer, Emma's voice rang out from the dining room. "Sarah, the manager is asking about payment." I closed my eyes. Of course she was. Marcus's hand was still on my arm. "Payment for what?" "My sister's engagement party," I said quietly. "It's complicated." "Sarah—" "Now!" I flinched. Marcus's jaw tightened. "How much?" he asked. "What?" "How much is the bill?" I shook my head quickly. "No, absolutely not. I can't—" "Sarah." He said my name like it was the only word that mattered. "How much?" $4,500, I whispered. "But Marcus, I can't let you—" He was already pulling out his wallet. A sleek black card appeared in his hand like magic. "Wait, please." I grabbed his wrist. "You don't understand. This isn't your problem. I can figure it out. I'll call the restaurant tomorrow, work out a payment plan. Let me do this." "Why would you do this?" His eyes met mine, and something in them made my breath catch. "Because 2 years ago, you were the only person who believed in me when I had nothing. You bought me dinner when I was too proud to admit I was broke. You listened to my crazy dreams about changing the world through technology. You never made me feel small. That was different." "No, it wasn't." His voice was firm but gentle. "And because honestly, I never stopped thinking about you." My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. "Come on," he said, lacing his fingers through mine. "Introduce me to your family." "Marcus, you really don't want to meet them right now." "Oh, I really do." We walked back into the dining room together. Emma saw us first. Her eyes went wide, traveling from Marcus's expensive suit to his confident posture to our joined hands. "Sarah?" Her voice had lost its sharp edge. "Who's this?" Marcus extended his free hand. "Marcus Chen, Sarah's fiancé." I nearly choked. My mother gasped. David's smirk vanished. "Fiancé?" Emma's voice climbed an octave. "Sarah doesn't have a—" "We've been keeping it quiet," Marcus said smoothly, his thumb rubbing circles on my hand. "Long-distance relationship. I've been working in Singapore, but I just moved back permanently. Couldn't stand being away from her anymore." He said it so convincingly that even I almost believed it. Emma's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "But you never mentioned—" "Sarah's private about her personal life," Marcus said with a slight smile. "Unlike some people." The dig was subtle but landed perfectly. Emma's cheeks flushed pink. My father stood up, extending his hand. "Well, this is unexpected. Nice to meet you, Marcus." "The pleasure's mine, sir." Marcus shook his hand firmly. "I apologize for missing the party. Last-minute business meeting ran late. But I'm here now, and I understand there's a bill to settle." "Oh, that's not necessary," my mother started. "Sarah was handling it," Emma interrupted quickly, her eyes narrowing. "Of course she was," Marcus said easily. "My fiancé is incredibly generous, always putting family first. but I insist on taking care of it. Consider it my contribution to your celebration." He pulled out that black card again. The restaurant manager appeared as if summoned, probably sensing the presence of serious money. "Put it all on this," Marcus said, handing over the card, "and add a 30% gratuity for the staff." The manager's eyes lit up. "Of course, sir. Right away, sir." David leaned forward. "What do you do, Marcus?" "I'm in tech. Software development. My company was recently acquired by a larger firm." He said it casually, like it was nothing. "We specialize in AI-driven solutions for financial institutions." "Acquired?" David's voice was strained. "Like sold?" "Like sold, yes." Emma grabbed David's arm. That's wonderful. Congratulations." "Thank you." Marcus turned to me, and the look in his eyes was so tender it almost broke me. Though my real success is getting a second chance with this woman. I didn't know whether to kiss him or kill him for this elaborate lie, but watching Emma's face cycle through shock, jealousy, and barely contained rage, that was almost worth it. Almost. Because now I had to figure out what the hell happened next. The restaurant manager returned with Marcus's card and a receipt, practically bowing as he handed them over. "Thank you for your generosity, Mr. Chen. Please come back any time." Marcus smiled politely and slipped the card back into his wallet. My sister's eyes tracked every movement like a hawk watching prey. "So, Marcus," Emma said, her voice syrupy sweet now, "how long have you two been engaged?" I opened my mouth, but Marcus squeezed my hand gently. 3 months, he said without hesitation. I proposed in Singapore. Took Sarah to this incredible restaurant overlooking the Marina Bay. Had the ring custom designed by a jeweler there. My mother's hand flew to her chest. "Sarah, why didn't you tell us?" "Because it never happened," I wanted to scream. "Because this is all a beautiful, insane lie. We wanted to wait until Marcus was back permanently," I heard myself say. "Didn't want to make a big announcement while we were on different continents." Emma's eyes narrowed. "Can we see the ring?" My stomach dropped. Of course there was no ring. Marcus laughed. "Actually, funny story about that. Sarah wanted to get it resized, and the jeweler is taking longer than expected. She's very particular about the fit." "How convenient," Emma muttered. "Sorry?" Marcus's tone remained pleasant, but there was steel underneath. "Nothing," Emma plastered on a fake smile. "It's just surprising, that's all. Sarah's been so available lately. All those shifts at the diner. All that time alone. You'd think an engaged woman would be planning a wedding, not scraping by as a waitress." The table went silent. My father cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Sarah works as a waitress because she's saving for her graphic design business," Marcus said calmly. "She's been building a portfolio, networking with clients, learning the industry from the ground up. That takes real courage and dedication." He said it like he actually knew, like he actually believed in me. Emma laughed, high and sharp. "Graphic design? Sarah barely finished her associate degree. She's hardly qualified to." "She's incredibly talented," Marcus cut her off. "I've seen her work. In fact, my company is considering hiring her for a major project. 6-figure contract." My head snapped toward him. What was he doing? David leaned back in his chair, studying Marcus with suspicious eyes. 6 figures for a freelance designer with no experience? That seems excessive. "Quality isn't excessive," Marcus replied smoothly. "It's an investment. Or it's nepotism," David said. "Hiring your fiancé. Seems like a conflict of interest. Good thing I'm not the one making the hiring decision then. Our creative director is. Sarah will have to earn it like anyone else." Marcus turned to me, his expression warm. "Though I have no doubt she will." Emma's perfectly manicured nails tapped against the table. "This is all so sudden. 2 years of nothing, and suddenly you're engaged and offering her dream jobs? Forgive me for being skeptical." "Emma." My mother's voice was sharp. "That's rude. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Emma looked around the table. "Sarah shows up alone to my engagement party, crying poor about not being able to afford anything, and then suddenly her fiancé appears out of nowhere with unlimited money? It feels like a setup. A setup for what exactly? Marcus asked, his voice dangerously quiet. For attention, Emma said. Sarah's always been jealous of me. Always wanted what I have. And now that I'm getting married, she suddenly has this perfect boyfriend who's richer than David. Fiancé, Marcus corrected. I'm her fiancé, and I'm not richer than David. I just have different priorities. David's face turned red. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Marcus said, standing up and pulling me to my feet with him, that I don't let the woman I love get humiliated by her own family. I don't sit back and watch her get stuck with a bill for a party she never agreed to pay for. And I sure as hell don't let anyone make her feel worthless. You could have heard a pin drop in that room. Emma's mouth fell open. My mother looked like she might cry. My father stared into his wineglass like it held the secrets of the universe. Sarah is brilliant, kind, and stronger than anyone at this table, Marcus continued. She's working 2 jobs to rebuild her life after someone she trusted betrayed her. She still showed up for you, Emma, even though you've treated her like garbage. And instead of thanking her, you tried to financially destroy her. I didn't, Emma started. You stuck her with a $4,500 bill, Marcus said flatly. You knew she couldn't afford it. You did it anyway. That's not what family does. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore. You don't understand our relationship. Sarah and I have always competed? Marcus supplied. With you winning because Mom and Dad have always favored you? Because you're younger, prettier, more successful in their eyes? Because Sarah's just the backup daughter, the one who's supposed to fade into the background and make you look better? My mother gasped. That's not true. But her protest was weak. Because it was true. We all knew it was true. Marcus turned to me, his hand cupping my cheek. We're leaving. Marcus. We're leaving, he repeated gently. You don't owe them anything else tonight. He was right. God, he was so right. But as we turned toward the door, Emma's voice rang out one more time. This is fake, all of it. He's not really your fiancé, is he, Sarah? I stopped. Turned around slowly. Everyone was staring at me, waiting for the truth, waiting for me to crumble. Instead, I walked back to Marcus, stood on my toes, and kissed him. It was supposed to be for show, a performance, proof for my sister that I wasn't pathetic and alone. But the moment our lips touched, something shifted. His hand slid into my hair. My fingers gripped his jacket. The kiss deepened, and I forgot we were in a restaurant. Forgot my family was watching. Forgot everything except the way he tasted like mint and memories and maybe something that could be real. When we finally pulled apart, Marcus was smiling. Does that answer your question? He asked Emma without looking at her. Then we walked out together, leaving my sister's engagement party in ruins behind us. The cold night air hit my face like a slap of reality. What had I just done? Marcus's hand was still in mine as we walked toward the parking lot. My legs felt like jelly. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out. Your car or mine? Marcus asked casually, like we hadn't just set my entire family on fire with lies. I stopped walking. Marcus, we need to talk. I know. That wasn't real. None of that was real. I know that too. Then why did you... My voice broke. Why did you do all of that? He turned to face me, and in the dim parking lot lights, I could see something raw in his expression. Because watching your sister humiliate you made me angrier than I've been in years. Because you deserved better. Because I could help. So I did. You paid $4,500 for a lie. I paid $4,500 to see the look on your sister's face when she realized she couldn't break you. He smiled slightly. Worth every penny. I pulled my hand away, wrapping my arms around myself. This is insane. They're going to find out the truth. Emma's probably already Googling you, and when she discovers that we're not actually engaged, that I lied to everyone. So don't let it be a lie. My brain short-circuited. What? Marcus stepped closer. Stay engaged to me. Not for real, obviously, but for show. For as long as you need to prove a point to your family. That's crazy. Is it? Think about it, Sarah. Your sister just tried to ruin you financially. She's been treating you like you're worthless your entire life. Here's a chance to show her. Show all of them. that you're not the failure they think you are. By lying? By leveling the playing field, he corrected. They've been lying to you for years. Lying about caring. Lying about family. This is just strategic truth. I shook my head, but I was listening. God help me, I was listening. What would you get out of this? I asked. He shrugged. Entertainment? A chance to mess with people who deserve it? And honestly, having a fake fiancé might help with some business situations. Makes me seem more stable, settled down. Investors like that. This is absolutely insane. Probably, he agreed. But is it any crazier than what just happened in there? He had a point. My phone buzzed. Then again, and again. I pulled it out to find 17 text messages, all from my family. Mom, we need to talk about this Marcus situation. Dad, call me when you get home. Emma, I know you're lying. I know it. Emma, you're making a fool of yourself. Emma, David says Marcus is probably a con artist. Emma, Mom's crying because of you. I showed Marcus the phone. He read through the messages, his expression darkening. Your sister is a real piece of work. She's scared, I said quietly. For the first time in her life, she's not the center of attention. She's not the golden child, and she can't handle it. Good. Let her be scared. Another text came through, this one from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. This is David. We need to meet tomorrow. Coffee, just you and me. There are things about Marcus Chen you need to know. I showed it to Marcus. He laughed sharp and cold. Oh, this is going to be fun. What does he mean, things I need to know? He's going to try to dig up dirt on me. Find something to prove I'm not who I say I am. That I'm using you, probably. Marcus took my phone and typed a response. What are you doing? Answering him. He showed me the screen. Sure, Cafe Nero, 10 a.m., see you there. Marcus, I can't meet with him alone. He'll tear me apart. You won't be alone. He handed back my phone. I'll be there too. Hidden, but there. And Sarah, I promise you, whatever he's found, whatever he thinks he knows, we can handle it. I wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt. But this was all moving too fast. Too reckless. I need to think, I said. About all of this. The fake engagement, the lies, everything. Of course. Marcus pulled out his own phone. Give me your number. Your real number this time, not the one you had 2 years ago. I rattled it off. His phone buzzed in his hand as he sent me a text. That's me. Call me tomorrow after your meeting with David. Or before if you need backup. Or in the middle of the night if you can't sleep and want to talk. Why are you being so nice to me? The question hung between us in the cold air. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, 2 years ago I was nobody. Broke student with big dreams and empty pockets. You never made me feel small. You looked at me like I could actually become someone. Like I mattered. You did matter. Not to my family. Not to investors. Not to anyone except you. He smiled sadly. Singapore changed everything for me. Money, success, opportunities. But it didn't change how I remembered you. How I wondered what might have happened if I'd stayed. My throat was tight. Marcus, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I'm not expecting this fake engagement to become real, if that's what you're worried about. I saw a chance to help you the way you helped me. That's all. But his eyes said something different. His eyes said he was lying. Not about helping, but about not wanting more. I should go, I whispered. Let me drive you home. I have my car. You're shaking. You shouldn't drive. He was right. I was shaking like a leaf. Marcus gently took my keys from my trembling hands. Come on. I'll drive you home. Call an Uber back from my car. It's not a big deal. We walked to my beat-up Honda Civic. It looked ridiculous next to the sleek Mercedes I'd seen him arrive in. But Marcus didn't even blink. He just opened the passenger door for me, waited until I was seated, then walked around to the driver's side. The car started with its usual complaining noise. Marcus adjusted the seat, the mirrors, and pulled out of the parking lot smoothly. Where am I going? I gave him my address. The apartment complex on the bad side of town. The place with the broken security gate and the laundry machines that ate quarters. Sarah, he said after a few minutes of silence, whatever you decide about the fake engagement thing, I meant what I said in there. You're talented. You're strong. And you deserve so much better than how they treat you. Tears burned behind my eyes. Thank you. And that job offer? The 6-figure contract? That wasn't entirely a lie. I looked at him sharply. What? My company really is looking for designers. And I really do think you'd be perfect. He glanced at me. Obviously, I'd have to recuse myself from the decision because of our situation, but I could get you an interview. A real one. What you do with it is up to you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Both offers. The job and the engagement. We pulled up to my apartment building. The flickering streetlight cast strange shadows across Marcus's face. Tomorrow, I said. After I meet with David, I'll give you my answer then. Fair enough. But as I opened the door to get out, his hand caught mine one more time. Sarah? That kiss? In the restaurant? My cheeks burned. What about it? His smile was crooked, vulnerable, nothing like the confident businessman from earlier. I've been wanting to do that again for 2 years. Then he let me go, and I practically ran into my building before I could do something stupid. Like kiss him again. For real this time. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Marcus's face. Heard Emma's vicious words. Felt the weight of that impossible bill crushing my chest. At 3 a.m., I gave up and made coffee. My apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of someone's TV through the paper-thin walls. My phone sat on the counter, Marcus's number staring at me from the screen. I wanted to call him. Wanted to hear his voice. Wanted to ask him if any of tonight had been real, or if I'd imagined the look in his eyes when he said he'd been wanting to kiss me for 2 years. Instead, I opened my laptop and did what any reasonable person would do at 3 a.m. I Googled him. Marcus Chen's Singapore startup acquisition brought up thousands of results. My hands froze over the keyboard as I read the headlines. Tech Prodigy's AI company acquired for $847 million. Marcus Chen, 26, becomes one of Silicon Valley's youngest success stories. From student loans to stock options, the Marcus Chen story. $847 million. I read the number 3 times, sure I was seeing it wrong. But no, there it was in Forbes, in TechCrunch, in the Wall Street Journal. Marcus hadn't just done well. He'd become wealthy beyond anything I could comprehend. The articles included photos. Marcus in a suit, shaking hands with executives. Marcus at tech conferences. Marcus being interviewed about artificial intelligence and the future of financial technology. He looked different in the photos. Older, more polished. But his smile was the same one I remembered from coffee shop dates and late-night study sessions. One article from 6 months ago caught my attention. Chen returns to U.S., opens West Coast office. 6 months ago, right around the time Jake had left me and emptied our bank account. Had Marcus been back in the country this whole time? Had he thought about reaching out? My phone buzzed, making me jump. Marcus. Can't sleep either? My heart hammered. I typed back quickly. Me. How did you know? Marcus. Because I'm parked outside your building and I just saw your living room light turn on. I ran to the window. Sure enough, there was a black Mercedes in the visitor parking spot, and I could see a figure in the driver's seat. Me. What are you doing here? Marcus. Making sure you're okay. Also, your neighborhood is kind of sketchy. Someone tried to break into a car across the street 20 minutes ago. I grabbed my jacket and headed downstairs before I could talk myself out of it. The night air was cold and smelled like rain. Marcus got out of his car as I approached, 2 coffee cups in his hands. Figured you might need this, he said, offering me one. I took it. Caramel latte. Extra shot. Exactly how I used to order it 2 years ago. You remembered. I remember everything about you, Sarah. We stood there in the parking lot drinking coffee at 3:30 in the morning like this was totally normal. I Googled you, I admitted. He smiled. And? $847 million, Marcus. $847 million. Technically, it was 846.7, but who's counting? I stared at him. How are you so casual about this? Because money's just a number. He leaned against his car. It doesn't change who I am. Doesn't make me smarter or better or more worthy. It just means I got lucky with timing and had a good idea at the right moment. Most people would disagree. Most people didn't know me when I was eating ramen for every meal and walking 3 miles to save bus fare. His eyes met mine. You did. You never cared about what I had or didn't have. You just cared. The coffee warmed my hands, but it didn't touch the cold knot in my chest. Why didn't you reach out? I asked quietly. When you came back 6 months ago, why didn't you call? Marcus was silent for a long moment. Because I was a coward. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. He ran a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect styling. I wanted to. God, Sarah, I wanted to so badly. But I didn't know if you'd moved on. If you were happy, if you'd want to hear from the guy who left you to chase his dreams halfway around the world. So you just didn't try? I drove by your old apartment 4 times. Sat outside for an hour each time, trying to build up the courage to knock on your door. Then I'd convince myself you were better off without me and drive away. My throat was tight. I moved 6 months ago, after Jake left. I know. I found out when I finally worked up the nerve to actually knock. Your old landlord told me you'd moved but wouldn't give me your new address. Said something about a no-good boyfriend and how you needed a fresh start. That was about Jake, not you. I didn't know that. I thought maybe you hated me. For leaving. For choosing Singapore over us. I set down my coffee cup on the hood of his car. I never hated you, Marcus. I was hurt. I was sad. But I understood. You had an opportunity. I would never have asked you to give that up. Maybe you should have. The words hung between us, heavy with regret. Tonight, I said, changing the subject before my heart could break any further. In the restaurant. The fake engagement. The job offer, all of it. Was any of it real? Or was it just you being nice to the girl who used to buy you dinner when you were broke? Marcus pushed off his car and stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell his cologne and see the exhaustion in his eyes that matched my own. The engagement is fake, for now. If you want it to be. What does that mean? It means I came to that restaurant tonight for a business dinner. I walked out and saw you crying in the lobby. And in that moment, all I could think was that I'd wasted 2 years not being with you. 2 years where someone could hurt you and I wasn't there to stop it. His hand came up to cup my face, his thumb brushing away. A tear I didn't realize had fallen. The job offer is real, he continued. You're talented, Sarah. I've followed your freelance work online. I've seen the logos you've designed, the websites you've built. You're better than half the designers we have on staff, and you're self-taught. That's incredible. You've been following my work? For 6 months. Ever since I got back, he smiled sadly. Told you I was a coward, too scared to reach out, but too obsessed to let you go completely. My heart was doing dangerous things in my chest. Stupid things. Things that could get me hurt. What about the rest? I whispered. The things you said to my family. About me being brilliant and strong and... Every word was true. Every single word. Marcus, I know this is crazy. I know we barely know each other anymore. I know I have no right to walk back into your life and turn everything upside down. His forehead pressed against mine. But Sarah, when I saw your sister treat you like that, when I saw you standing there with that bill in your shaking hands, something in me just snapped. I couldn't walk away. Not again. I should have pulled back. Should have protected myself. Should have remembered that fairy tales don't happen to girls like me. But instead, I kissed him. Really kissed him this time. Not for show. Not for my sister. Not for anyone but us. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close. The kiss deepened, and I poured 2 years of loneliness and hurt and hope into it. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus was smiling. So, he said, about that fake engagement. I laughed, breathless. Let me get through coffee with David first. Then we'll talk about how many more lies we're going to tell my family. Fair enough. He kissed my forehead. But Sarah, When this is all over, when we've proven your point and put your sister in her place, I want a chance. A real one. To take you on actual dates. To do this right. One problem at a time, Chen. Is that a maybe? I smiled against his chest. It's a maybe. It was enough. For now, it was enough. Cafe Nero was one of those pretentious coffee shops where a latte cost $8 and the baristas judged you for ordering anything with flavor. I arrived at 9:45, 15 minutes early. Wanted time to prepare myself for whatever David was going to throw at me. Marcus had texted me that morning. Marcus, I'll be there. Corner table with my laptop. Just another businessman working remotely. He won't know I'm listening. Me. This feels like a spy movie. Marcus. A spy movie where the good guys win. You've got this. I ordered a green tea I couldn't afford and found a table near the window. My hands were shaking again. I hated that they kept doing that. David walked in at exactly 10 o'clock. Punctual. Controlling. Everything had to be on his terms. He was wearing business casual, pressed khakis, button-down shirt, designer watch that probably cost more than my rent. His smile was friendly, but his eyes were calculating. Sarah, thanks for meeting me. You made it sound urgent. He sat down across from me, folding his hands on the table. It is urgent. I'm worried about you. Worried? Yes, about this Marcus situation. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a concerned whisper. Sarah, I don't think you know who you're getting involved with. I took a sip of tea to buy time. What are you talking about? I did some research last night. Marcus Chen, tech entrepreneur, recently sold his company for a fortune. Sounds great, right? Sounds like you hit the jackpot. I don't see how this is your business. It's my business because you're family, because Emma cares about you, even if you two fight, because I don't want to see you get hurt. The concern in his voice almost sounded genuine. Almost. What did you find, David? He pulled out his phone and slid it across the table. On the screen was an article from a tech gossip blog. Marcus Chen's dark side, former employees speak out. My stomach dropped. Read it, David urged. I scrolled through the article. It was full of anonymous quotes from supposed former employees. Claims that Marcus was ruthless, that he'd fired people without warning, that he'd stolen ideas from junior developers, that he was manipulative and cold. This is from Tech Gossip 247, I said slowly. This isn't exactly a reputable source. Where there's smoke, there's fire. David took back his phone. Sarah, think about it. You haven't seen this guy in 2 years. He shows up out of nowhere, claims you're engaged, throws money around like it's nothing. Don't you think that's suspicious? He was helping me. Or he's using you. David's voice was gentle, but his words cut deep. Pretty, vulnerable girl from a good family. Perfect trophy wife for a guy trying to build his image. You make him look stable, respectable. And what does he give you? Money? Access to his world? That's not what this is, isn't it? Be honest with yourself, Sarah. What do you really know about who Marcus is now? About what he's done to get where he is? I wanted to argue. Wanted to defend Marcus. But doubt was creeping in like poison. He told you about some 6-figure contract, didn't he? David continued. Some amazing job opportunity. Sounds too good to be true because it probably is. He's dangling carrots, Sarah, making you dependent on him. It's classic manipulation. Why do you care? I asked suddenly. You've never cared about me before. Emma's the one you're marrying, not me. David sat back, his expression shifting. I care because I know what it's like to be used. My ex-fiancé, before Emma, she was with me for my money. For my connections. When I figured it out and ended things, she tried to destroy my reputation. Spread lies, sued me. It was a nightmare. That still doesn't explain why you're so invested in my relationship. He flinched at my tone. Good. Look, he said. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Marcus is exactly who he says he is. But I did more digging, Sarah. Deeper digging. And I found something else. He pulled out a folder from his briefcase. Actual printed papers like this was some kind of dramatic movie reveal. What is that? Court documents. From a lawsuit filed 3 months ago. A former business partner is suing Marcus for breach of contract and fraud. Claims Marcus cut him out of the company right before the acquisition. The partner says he's owed $40 million. My hands were numb. Let me see. David handed over the papers. I scanned them quickly. Legal jargon, names, dates, it looked official. It looked real. Michael Patterson, I read aloud. Claims he and Marcus started the company together. Claims Marcus forced him out using a technicality in their contract. Exactly. And if Marcus did that to a business partner, someone he supposedly trusted, what would he do to a girlfriend? To a fiancé? I looked up from the papers. Across the cafe, I could see Marcus at his corner table, laptop open, coffee untouched. He wasn't even pretending to work. He was watching us. Our eyes met. Even from across the room, I could see the tension in his jaw. Sarah. David's hand covered mine on the table. I know you want to believe in fairy tales. I know you want Marcus to be your knight in shining armor, rescuing you from your problems. But real life doesn't work that way. Real life is messy and complicated, and people with that much money always have secrets. I pulled my hand away. You're one to talk about secrets, David. What about the reason you and your ex really broke up? What about the allegations she made? His face went pale. How do you know about that? I have Google too. I hadn't actually Googled him, but his reaction told me I'd hit something. So maybe before you come at me with accusations about Marcus, you should make sure your own closet is clean. David's friendly mask slipped. For just a second, I saw something ugly underneath. I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to control the narrative. Emma's pissed that I showed up with someone more successful than you. She's worried that for once she's not the center of attention, and you're here doing her dirty work. That's not... Did she send you here? Did my sister tell you to dig up dirt on Marcus? To scare me away from him? The guilt on his face was answer enough. I stood up, grabbing the court documents. I'm keeping these. I'm going to read them. Actually read them, not just skim for the scary parts. And then I'm going to talk to Marcus about them like an adult. Sarah, wait. No, I'm done waiting. I'm done letting my family treat me like I'm too stupid to make my own decisions. I'm done being the one who's supposed to just accept whatever scraps of respect you people throw my way. Other customers were staring now. I didn't care. Tell Emma that her plan didn't work, I said, loud enough for half the cafe to hear. Tell her that I'm not scared. And tell her that if she wants to talk to me about Marcus, she can do it herself instead of sending her lapdog. David's face turned red. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. I walked away from the table, my legs shaking but my head held high. Marcus was already standing, laptop closed, ready to follow me out. But before we reached the door, David called out one more time. He's not who you think he is, Sarah. And when you figure that out, don't come crying to us. I turned around one last time. At least he's never made me feel worthless. That's more than I can say for any of you. Then Marcus and I walked out together into the morning sunlight. His hand found mine immediately. That was incredible, he said quietly. Those documents, I replied, my voice shaking. The lawsuit. Is it real? Marcus's grip tightened. Yes, it's real. And we need to talk about it. My heart sank, because maybe David was right after all. We drove to Marcus's hotel in silence. Not the comfortable silence we'd shared years ago. This was heavy, loaded with questions I was afraid to ask and answers I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. His suite was on the top floor of the Meridian. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Furniture that probably cost more than my car. A laptop set up on the desk that looked like mission control. Drink? He offered. Truth, I said instead. I want the truth about Michael Patterson. Marcus nodded slowly. He didn't look surprised. Didn't look angry. Just tired. Sit down. This is going to take a while. I sat on the edge of the designer couch, the court document still clutched in my hands. Marcus sat across from me, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Michael Patterson was my co-founder, he began. We started the company together in Singapore. He had the business connections, I had the technical skills. For the first year, we were partners. Equal split, 50-50 on everything. What happened? He started using company funds for personal expenses. Luxury cars, designer clothes, trips to Monaco? I confronted him. He promised to stop. He didn't. Marcus's jaw tightened at the memory. It got worse. He missed important meetings, showed up drunk to investor pitches, started making promises to clients we couldn't keep. I covered for him because I thought he'd get his act together, because I believed in loyalty. But he didn't get it together? No. And when our Series B funding came through, $20 million, he tried to drain half of it into an offshore account, said it was his share, that he deserved it for bringing in the investors. I felt sick. What did you do? I called an emergency board meeting, presented evidence of his misuse of funds, his breach of fiduciary duty. The board voted to remove him. Our contract had a clause that allowed for termination if either partner engaged in fraudulent activity. He was out. So the lawsuit is him trying to rewrite history, claiming I forced him out unfairly, that the acquisition money should have been split with him. But Sarah, if I'd let him stay, there would have been no acquisition. The company would have collapsed. Investors were already nervous about his behavior. I studied his face. He wasn't lying. I'd known Marcus long enough to recognize his tells, and he wasn't showing any of them. Why didn't you tell me last night? Because it's ugly and complicated, and I didn't want our reunion to be about business drama. He ran a hand through his hair. And because I knew your family would use it against me if they found out. Which they clearly did. David said you're ruthless, that you've fired people without warning, stolen ideas. David's reading gossip blogs written by disgruntled former employees who didn't like that I had standards. Marcus's voice was firm. Yes, I've fired people. People who lied on their resumes, who harassed coworkers, who compromised security. I built something from nothing, Sarah. That requires hard decisions. I wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. Show me, I said suddenly. Show me the evidence. The proof that Michael was stealing, that you were protecting the company. If this is real, you'll have documentation. Marcus didn't hesitate. He went to his laptop, typed for a moment, then turned the screen toward me. Bank statements, email chains, board meeting minutes, video recordings of investor meetings where Michael was visibly intoxicated. This folder is part of our legal defense, Marcus said quietly. My lawyers have advised me not to share it with anyone outside the case. But I'm showing you because I need you to trust me. I need you to know that I'm not the villain your family is trying to paint me as. I scrolled through the documents. They were damning. Clear evidence of financial misconduct, professional incompetence, breach of contract. He really tried to steal $10 million, I whispered. He did. And when I stopped him, he decided to destroy me instead. That's what the lawsuit is really about. Revenge. I closed the laptop and looked at Marcus. Really looked at him. Why me? I asked. You could have anyone. Models, actresses, socialites who actually fit into your world. Why come back for the broke waitress with the nightmare family? Marcus moved to sit beside me on the couch. Close but not touching. Because when I was nobody, you saw me. Really saw me. Not what I could become, not what I might achieve. Just me. His voice was soft. Because you bought me coffee when you could barely afford it yourself. Because you listened to my crazy ideas at 2 a.m. and never once made me feel stupid for dreaming big. That was just basic human decency. No, Sarah, it was kindness. Real kindness. And in my world, that's rarer than you think. His hand found mine, fingers interlacing. In Singapore, I met hundreds of people. Investors, developers, entrepreneurs. Everyone wanted something. Everyone had an angle. I was surrounded by people and completely alone. He smiled sadly. And every time I closed a deal or hit a milestone, the first person I wanted to tell was you. The person I'd left behind. My throat was tight. Marcus, I'm not asking you to fix me or save me or complete me. I'm just asking for a chance. A real chance. After we deal with your family, after this fake engagement runs its course, I want to take you to dinner. Not to impress you. Not to prove anything. Just to see if what we had 2 years ago could be something more now. What if it can't? What if too much has changed? Then at least we'll know. At least we won't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. I looked down at our joined hands. His were steady. Mine were still shaking. The job offer, I said. Is that real too? Or just part of the fake engagement? It's real. I'll recuse myself from the decision completely. Our creative director will review your portfolio blind. No names, just work. If she likes what she sees, you'll get an interview. What happens after that is entirely up to you. And if I fail, then you fail, and you try again somewhere else. Sarah, you're 24. You have time to build something amazing. I thought about Emma, about David, about my parents who'd always treated me like the disappointing spare daughter. Then I thought about Marcus, about the risk, about the possibility that this could all blow up in my face. Okay, I heard myself say. Okay? Okay to the fake engagement. Okay to proving a point to my family. Okay to the job interview. I took a deep breath. And okay to dinner after this is all over. Marcus's smile could have lit up the entire city. 3 days later, Emma called a family dinner. Not a request, a summons. Group text to me, our parents, David's parents. Mandatory attendance at our parents' house. She's planning something, Marcus said as we drove to my childhood home. This is an ambush. I know. My stomach was in knots. She's had 3 days to stew, 3 days to dig up more dirt on you, 3 days to plan her attack. Marcus reached over and squeezed my hand. Whatever she throws at us, we handle it together. Agreed? Agreed. He'd coached me for hours. Prepared responses. Backup plans. He'd even bought me a ring, a simple but elegant diamond that caught the light perfectly. It's on loan from a jeweler friend, he'd explained. We'll return it when this is over. But when he'd slid it onto my finger, something had felt permanent about it. My parents' house looked the same as always. Perfectly manicured lawn, expensive cars in the driveway. The kind of suburban dream that had never felt like home to me. Emma opened the door before we could knock. She was dressed like she was attending a wedding. Designer dress, professional makeup, hair styled to perfection. Sarah, Marcus, how lovely you could make it. Her smile was venomous. Wouldn't miss it, I replied sweetly. The dining room was set like a courtroom. Mom and Dad at the head of the table. David's parents on one side. Empty chairs clearly designated for me and Marcus on the other, facing everyone like defendants. This should be fun, Marcus murmured. We sat down. The air was thick with tension. Emma remained standing. She had a folder in her hands. Of course she did. Thank you all for coming, she began, like this was a business presentation. I've called this meeting because I'm concerned. Deeply concerned about Sarah and this situation with Marcus. Emma, my mother started. Please, Mom, let me finish. Emma opened her folder. I've done extensive research over the past 3 days, and I've discovered some very troubling information. Here it comes. Marcus Chen is currently being sued for $40 million by his former business partner. The lawsuit alleges fraud, breach of contract, and misappropriation of funds. My father's eyebrows shot up. David's parents exchanged worried glances. That lawsuit is baseless, Marcus said calmly. My former partner was embezzling company funds. I had him removed legally and ethically. He's retaliating with false claims. So you say. Emma pulled out more papers. But there's more. I found reviews from former employees. Complaints about your management style. Claims that you're difficult to work with, demanding, even cruel. Every successful CEO has disgruntled former employees, Marcus replied. It comes with the territory of maintaining standards. Emma's smile widened. And what about Melissa Zhang? The room went silent. I felt Marcus tense beside me. Who's Melissa Zhang? I asked quietly. Marcus's ex-girlfriend in Singapore, Emma announced triumphantly. They dated for 18 months. Broke up 6 months ago, right around the time he moved back here. Right around the time he supposedly couldn't stop thinking about you, Sarah. My heart stopped. Marcus's hand found mine under the table. Sarah, is that true? I asked, my voice barely audible. Yes, I dated someone in Singapore. We broke up. It has nothing to do with us. Emma laughed. Nothing to do with you? Sarah, he had a serious girlfriend for a year and a half. He moved back here, conveniently forgot to mention her, and then swept you up in this ridiculous engagement story. She pulled out printed photos. Marcus and a beautiful Asian woman. At restaurants. At tech conferences. Smiling together. Melissa Zhang, Emma continued, is a venture capitalist. Wealthy, connected, sophisticated. Everything you're not, Sarah. So ask yourself, why would Marcus trade down? The words hit like a physical blow. That's enough, Marcus said, his voice dangerous. Is it because I have more? Emma was enjoying this. I spoke with Melissa. Found her on LinkedIn, sent her a message. Want to know what she told me? Emma, stop this, my mother said weakly. She said Marcus is obsessed with his image, obsessed with success, that everything he does is calculated, that he'd never make a decision without considering how it benefits him strategically. Emma turned to me, false sympathy dripping from her voice. Don't you see, Sarah? You're not his fiancé. You're his redemption project. The poor girl he can rescue to make himself feel like a good person. You make him look generous, humble, relatable. You're a PR strategy. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Is she right? I asked Marcus. Am I just a project to you? No, God, no. Marcus turned to face me fully. Sarah, listen to me. Answer the question, Emma interrupted. Did you contact Melissa after you saw Sarah? Did you tell your ex about your new fiancé? Marcus's jaw tightened. Yes. I called Melissa to let her know I was seeing someone. It was the respectful thing to do. And what did she say? Emma pressed. That's private. She said you were making a mistake. Emma's voice rose triumphantly. She said Sarah was clearly out of your league in the wrong direction. That you were slumming. That you'd get bored in 6 months and move on to someone more suitable. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. Sarah. Marcus reached for me. I pulled away. Did your ex really say those things? Marcus's silence was answer enough. Oh my God. I backed toward the door. This is insane. All of it. The fake engagement, the rescue fantasy, pretending we could just pick up where we left off. It's not fake to me, Marcus said urgently. Sarah, yes, I dated Melissa. Yes, we broke up. Yes, she said horrible things when I told her about you. But none of that changes how I feel. How do you feel? I demanded. Because from where I'm standing, Emma's right. I'm convenient. I'm grateful. I'm easy to impress because I have nothing. What's not to like about a charity case who will worship you for saving her? That's not what this is. Then what is it, Marcus? What am I to you, really? He stood too, his eyes desperate. You're the person who saw me when I was nothing. You're brilliant and kind and stronger than anyone in this room. Stop! Tears were streaming down my face now. Just stop, I can't do this. I can't be your second choice. Your redemption arc. Your way of proving you're still a good person despite the lawsuits and the ruthless business deals and the ex-girlfriend who thinks I'm beneath you. Sarah, please, the engagement is off. I yanked the ring from my finger and set it on the table. Tell your jeweler friend thank you, but I won't be needing it anymore. Emma was practically glowing with satisfaction. I looked at my parents. Are you happy now? Your golden child wins again. Sarah's back in her place, alone, humiliated, exactly where you always wanted her. Then I walked out. Marcus called after me, but I didn't stop. I made it to my car before the sobs came. I called in sick to both my jobs for 3 days straight. Stayed in my apartment with the curtains closed. Ate cereal for every meal. Ignored the 47 calls from Marcus and the dozen texts from my mother. Emma sent one message. I did this for your own good. I blocked her number. On day 4, someone knocked on my door at 7 in the morning. Persistent, aggressive, not going away. I opened it to find a woman I'd never met. Late 20s, designer suit, flawless makeup. She looked like she'd stepped out of a business magazine. Sarah Collins? Who's asking? Amanda Chen, Marcus's sister. I tried to close the door. She stuck her foot in it. 5 minutes, she said. That's all I'm asking. Then I'll leave and never bother you again. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She looked around my tiny apartment without judgment. Just observation. Then she sat on my secondhand couch like it was a throne. My brother is a mess, she said bluntly. He's not eating, not sleeping, snapping at everyone in the office. His assistant quit yesterday because he threw a laptop across the room. Not my problem. Except it is. Because he's in love with you. I laughed bitterly. He has a funny way of showing it. Forgetting to mention his serious girlfriend. Letting his ex call me unsuitable. Using me as some kind of redemption project. Is that what you think? Amanda's eyes were sharp. That you're a project? Your brother dated a venture capitalist for 18 months. Sophisticated, wealthy, connected. Then he shows up and plays hero for a broke waitress. You do the math. Amanda pulled out her phone. Let me tell you about Melissa Zhang. She's brilliant, ambitious, beautiful, and completely wrong for Marcus. She showed me her screen. Text messages between Marcus and Amanda from 6 months ago. Marcus. I ended it with Melissa today. Amanda. Finally. What happened? Marcus. She compared one of our junior developers to the help, said he didn't deserve to be in the same room as investors. I can't be with someone who treats people like that. Amanda. You've been unhappy for months. I'm glad you finally pulled the trigger. Marcus. I've been thinking about Sarah a lot lately, wondering if I made a mistake letting her go. Amanda. The girl from before Singapore? Marcus, that was 2 years ago. Marcus. I know. But she never made me feel like I had to prove anything. She just saw me. I stared at the messages. When was this? 6 months ago. 2 months before your sister's engagement party. Marcus came back to the States specifically to look for you. Took him 4 months to work up the courage to try to contact you, and by then you'd moved. He told me he was a coward about that. He was. He is. About feelings, anyway. About business? Ruthless. Brilliant. Unstoppable. About emotions? Complete disaster. Amanda smiled slightly. Runs in the family. She scrolled to more messages. These from 3 days ago. Marcus. I lost her. Emma destroyed everything and I lost her. Amanda. What happened? Marcus. She thinks I'm using her. Thinks she's a project. Thinks I see her as less than Melissa. Amanda. Do you? Marcus. God, no! Sarah is everything Melissa pretended to be. Kind without calculation. Smart without arrogance. Real. She's so damn real, Amanda. And I ruined it. I couldn't read anymore. My vision was blurry with tears. Why are you showing me this? Because my brother has made many mistakes in his life, but you're not one of them. Amanda put away her phone. The fake engagement was stupid. Not telling you about Melissa was stupid. But his feelings for you? Those are real. How can you be sure? Because I've never seen him like this. Not over Melissa. Not over anyone. He's completely wrecked Sarah, and Marcus doesn't do wrecked. He does calculated, controlled, strategic. This? She gestured helplessly. This is chaos. This is love. I sat down heavily. Emma said I was convenient. Easy to impress. A charity case. Emma is an insecure brat who can't stand that you found someone better than her fiancé. Amanda's voice was ice. I looked into David, by the way. The allegations from his ex? Emotional abuse. Controlling behavior. She dropped the charges because he paid her $200,000 to go away. My stomach turned. Emma doesn't know that. Oh, she knows, David told her. She married him anyway because the alternative was admitting she picked wrong. Amanda leaned forward. Your sister has spent her whole life being the favorite. The pretty one. The successful one. And then you show up with Marcus, and suddenly she's not the winner anymore, so she destroyed you to protect her ego. I wanted to scream at how much that made sense. What does Marcus want from me? I asked quietly. To apologize. To explain. To grovel, if necessary. Amanda smiled. He's outside, actually. In his car. Has been for 2 hours. I told him I'd talk to you first. Soften the blow. He's outside right now? Waiting, hoping, probably having a panic attack knowing him. I went to the window. Sure enough, Marcus's Mercedes was in the parking lot. I could see him in the driver's seat, head in his hands. He looked broken. The job offer, I said. Was that real? Completely real. Our creative director reviewed your portfolio yesterday. Blind review, like Marcus promised. She wants to interview you next week. Amanda stood. The position is yours if you want it. 6-figure salary. Benefits. Full creative control on projects. No nepotism, no favors. Just your talent. My heart was racing. I don't know what to do. Then let me make it simple. Amanda headed for the door. You can stay here, in this apartment, working 2 jobs you hate, letting your family make you feel small. Or you can take a risk on someone who sees your worth. She paused at the door. Marcus isn't perfect. He's driven and demanding, and sometimes doesn't know when to quit working. But Sarah? He's good. He's loyal. And he'll spend every day trying to prove he deserves you. Then she left. I stood at the window, watching Marcus in his car. Watching him suffer. He'd paid a $4,500 bill without blinking. He'd stood up to my family. He'd offered me a real job opportunity. He'd called his ex to tell her about me because it was respectful. And I'd thrown it all back in his face because my sister had planted doubt. I grabbed my jacket and ran downstairs before I could talk myself out of it. Marcus saw me coming. He got out of the car, and the hope on his face nearly broke me. Sarah, I kissed him. Not for show. Not for anyone but us. His arms wrapped around me, and I felt him shake with relief. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. We'll figure it out, I said against his lips. And I meant it. 6 months later, Emma's wedding was the social event of the season. I arrived with Marcus, not as my fake fiancé, as my real boyfriend. We'd taken it slow after that day in the parking lot. Real dates, real conversations, building something genuine instead of performing for an audience. The job interview had gone perfectly. I'd started at Marcus's company 3 weeks later, working under the creative director who had no idea we were dating. My first project, a complete rebrand for a financial startup, had won an industry award. I'd moved out of my cramped apartment into a place I could actually afford. Quit both waitressing jobs. Started building a life I was proud of. And Marcus? He'd won his lawsuit against Michael Patterson. Complete vindication. The judge had ruled in his favor, calling Patterson's claims frivolous and malicious. But none of that was why I was nervous walking into Emma's wedding. I was nervous because I hadn't spoken to my family in 6 months. Not since the disastrous dinner. Not since I'd walked out and chosen myself for once. Emma saw us immediately. Her face went pale beneath her professional makeup. The bride who'd spent months planning her perfect day, confronted with the sister she'd tried to destroy. Sarah, she said quietly. You came. I'm your sister. Of course I came. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, maybe not ever. But it was acknowledgement. David appeared at Emma's side, looking uncomfortable. Marcus's hand tightened on mine. Congratulations, Marcus said coolly. Beautiful ceremony. Thank you. David couldn't meet his eyes. Listen, about that coffee meeting. Ancient history. Marcus's smile was sharp. Although I hear congratulations are in order for you too. Your ex settled her lawsuit quietly last month. Must be a relief. David's face flushed. Emma's eyes widened. You knew? Emma whispered. I know lots of things. Marcus's tone was pleasant, but the message was clear. I just choose not to weaponize them. Unlike some people. My mother rushed over, dabbing at her eyes. Sarah, sweetheart, you look beautiful. That dress is stunning. Thank you, Mom. I've missed you. We all have. She glanced at Marcus nervously. Perhaps we could have dinner soon. All of us? Talk about everything that happened. I looked at my mother. Really looked at her. She was trying. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Maybe, I said carefully. But on my terms, my timing. And Marcus will be there. Of course. Whatever you need. Emma was still staring at us. At my dress that probably cost more than hers. At the confidence I'd built over 6 months of standing on my own. At Marcus, who looked at me like I hung the moon. You really love her? Emma said to Marcus. This isn't fake anymore. It was never fake to me, Marcus replied. That was your narrative, not ours. I was trying to protect her. No. My voice was firm. You were trying to prove you were better than me. That I didn't deserve happiness. That I should stay small so you could stay big. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. I'm sorry, she whispered. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I was jealous and scared and I took it out on you. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. I know, I said quietly. And maybe someday we can rebuild what we had. But Emma, I need you to understand something. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need Mom and Dad's validation. I don't need to make myself smaller so you can feel bigger. I know. Emma wiped her eyes carefully, trying not to ruin her makeup. You've changed. You're different. I'm happier, I corrected. There's a difference. David cleared his throat. We should get back to the reception. Guests are waiting. As they walked away, Marcus pulled me close. You okay? Yeah, actually I am. We danced at Emma's wedding, talked with relatives who'd ignored me my whole life, and now suddenly wanted to know about my fascinating career in tech. Smiled for photos that would probably end up on social media. But the best moment came at the end of the night. We were leaving when my father stopped us in the parking lot. Sarah, wait, I turned. Dad looked older than I remembered, tired. I owe you an apology, he said. For years of favoritism. For not standing up for you. For letting Emma treat you poorly because it was easier than dealing with conflict. Dad, let me finish. He took a shaky breath. You were always the strong one, independent, capable. We didn't worry about you the way we worried about Emma. But that wasn't fair. You needed us too, and we failed you. Tears burned my eyes. I did need you, I know. And I'm sorry. He looked at Marcus. Thank you for seeing what we didn't. For standing up for her when we wouldn't. Marcus nodded respectfully. Sarah stands up for herself now. I'm just lucky enough to stand beside her. My father smiled sadly. Take care of my daughter. Every day, Marcus promised. We drove back to my apartment in comfortable silence. Marcus walked me to my door like he always did, even though he was staying over. Big day, he said, pulling me close. Huge day. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Thank you for being there. Always. He kissed my forehead. Sarah, there's something I want to ask you. My heart skipped. Okay. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. This isn't the loner ring, he said, smiling nervously. This is real. Custom designed. Exactly what you deserve. He opened the box. The ring inside was perfect, simple, elegant. Nothing like the showy diamond from before. I know we said we'd take this slow. I know 6 months isn't very long. But Sarah, I've loved you since coffee shops and study sessions and dreams that seemed impossible. I lost you once, and I'm not making that mistake again. He dropped to one knee right there in my apartment hallway. Will you marry me? For real this time? I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Could only nod as tears streamed down my face. Yes, I finally managed. Yes, yes, yes. He slid the ring onto my finger, and this time, it felt right, permanent, real. I love you, Marcus said, standing and pulling me into a kiss that made my toes curl. I love you too, I whispered against his lips. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. I saw the photos. Congratulations on your engagement. For real this time. You deserve it. It wasn't perfect. My family was still complicated. Emma and I had years of work ahead of us to rebuild trust. But standing there in Marcus's arms, wearing a ring that meant forever, I realized something important. I didn't need them to complete me anymore. I was already whole.